Hi, I'm Kendrick.
I'm Carla.
Welcome to Self-Care Saturday. What we need for you to do is like, tag, share this video. Let somebody know that we're on. It is, I guess it's our post-Thanksgiving celebration. We don't own the rights to this music. So wherever you are, get a minute to come on, like, tag, and share. Let somebody know that we're here. We're grateful to be on with you today again, and we have a short schedule for you today. How about that? So we're just going to give you a few minutes to come in. We'll be acknowledging you as you come on and come into the room. But you hear the song, I never knew that I could be so happy. Is anybody out there happy with us today? Hallelujah to God. Let me state for the record, God is a healer, and He is still in the healing business. I pray that you have had a wonderful week. You have enjoyed time with your family. Happy Thanksgiving from me and Carla. Hello, Cassandra.
Hey.
Cassandra's on. Hey, sis. How you doing?
Hey, sis.
So come on in. I'm cleaning my glasses. I'm getting ready. So if Carla can see you, she'll acknowledge you as you're coming into the room.
We talked about that before, like Mr. Magoo.
And we both are squinting here.
Yeah, so thank you, Cassandra, for being on with us. He said, I never knew I could be so happy. It's a choice. And because of His love, life has brand new meaning. I don't know about for you, it's going to be a what? Brighter day. All right. And so just want to let everyone know we don't own the rights to this song. And it's by Kirk Franklin from his Rebirth of Kirk Franklin album or soundtrack. You know, I'm back in the 70s talking about an album. I know they don't have albums anymore. All right. Clarica, thank you for being with us today. We are just allowing others to come into the room as we listen and have a joyful moment with Kirk Franklin.
Okay, there we are. So, Clarice, good to see you. Because, again, as we say, we celebrate what God is doing, and we hope that you have had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We pray and hope that you have been blessed, spending time with family. Hello, Andrea. Welcome. We're glad to see you on. And we just allow the music to play while you all come on here.
Hi, Andrea.
Again, Self-Care Saturday is on. Let somebody know it is time for some conversation. And so wherever you are, grab your family, center yourself around your iPad, your phone. If you're in your car, you might need to pull over so you can catch this conversation. Definitely a topic I think you're going to enjoy today. As you know, we've been dealing with a topic centered around family, marriage, relationships. We've been dealing also with whether you're married, separated, divorced, single, remarried, whatever the case may be. We're trying to just put some content around each one of those columns if you fit that column. And we do know that we're in a time and a season where relationships actually grow, I believe, between November and February.
Holiday gift time. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes. Women are generally open doing, guys, if you're looking for a relationship, they're generally open between November to February.
That is so not right. I can't believe you said that.
Hey, Alice, welcome.
Oh,
welcome.
My goodness. But men like gifts. You like receiving gifts, don't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
you do.
The giving and we give. We give gifts.
That's not a bad thing.
It is so. Pastor.
All right. So a pleasure to see you all on. Again, we truly hope that you have had a wonderful time for Thanksgiving. I hope you have eaten yourselves full. And I think I'm going to start a campaign, me and Lady Carla, and we want you to sign some petitions where we can let all jobs know we should have the entire week off.
Yes, it's a week of recovery from eating. Oh, my goodness. From eating.
So prayerfully, you all have gotten the rest and relaxation that you needed. We are well rested, and unfortunately, we were not able to do any traveling. We decided to stay on this side of town and just celebrate each other, celebrate family here. And actually, we too needed some
Yes.
some relax and some rest. And so we were able to get that. Thankful. We're so thankful. And again, we pray that, again, your families have merged together and that somebody did not burn that turkey up.
Turkey is still standing.
Yes, yes, yes. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of pieces of scripture actually to start out Self-Care Saturday on today. And we're hoping, again, you are letting somebody know that we're on. But what we like to do is to get you a little more familiar with a topic and a subject matter that I believe that most of us have actually heard, we're familiar with it, or we take it on, we embrace it. And that topic is simply called the Golden Rule. And we'll let Carla dialogue about what the Golden Rule is and what do we generally hear when we think about the term the Golden Rule. But we want to apply it today in the sense of relationships.
And so if you turn, the Golden Rule can be found in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 12. And it reads, "So then, whatever you desire that others would do to and for you, even so do also to and for them. For this sums up the laws and the prophets." So this Golden Rule is whatever someone does to you, you do it to them. And I've heard that before, and
Yes.
do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I've try and practice it, but some things, this is one to talk about.
Yes.
Can you always do unto others as they have done unto you? Is that what the Golden Rule is really saying?
And generally, I know for me, when I've heard the Golden Rule, I hear people even using it in the terminology, treat others the way you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
Don't treat me one way and you expect something different.
Right.
And so we got to consider the power of the Golden Rule, because the Golden Rule is really there to help bring a balance. The Golden Rule actually put things in its proper place and perspective. And another thing I believe the Golden Rule does is it helps to create a mutual respect for you and the individual or people that you're dealing with. So today we're talking about the Golden Rule. And I want to just read a few selected scriptures. Now this comes out of Matthew chapter 7. And as we continue to wind down this year dealing with self-care, you got to understand and know that whatever relationship that you're in, we want to make sure you understand your stance in that relationship. But we also want to make sure you know how to celebrate that relationship and balance it out. I want you to listen to Matthew 7, verse 1.
"Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you."
And so you may have heard these things before: asking, seeking, knocking. Jesus is teaching a real simple lesson, so to speak. This comes out of what we understand, a message that they call the Sermon on the Mount or the Beatitudes. And so, but I also want you to listen just to a few more pieces here so we can gain some content behind what we're about to share with you.
"For everyone that seeketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened." That was verse 8.
Okay.
"Or what man is there of you, whom if his son ask bread, will he give him a stone? Or if he ask a fish, will he give him a serpent? If ye then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father, which is in heaven, give good things to them that ask him?"
Again, so she's just highlighting the passage in the middle section there. She's dealing with the middle section of the Passion. But I want you to hear something else that you're familiar with in Matthew 7, verse 1. And listen to what it says here.
"Judge not, that ye not be judged.
Keep going.
For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again."
And so I wanted to point that out because when you consider the Golden Rule, this same message is also highlighted in Matthew 7. And it simply says, "Judge not, lest you be judged first." I wish we had time to dialogue on all of that.
Yes.
But I want to point those two things out because as we consider, we want to talk about the Golden Rule in regards to looking at or in the mirror. And that does require judging. That does require looking at self, doing some self-reflection. And so we're going to start out by saying every relationship needs a moment when you go back to the mirror. And so we'll have Carla walk us through some just some fine points under that. And again, I truly believe you are going to be blessed by this conversation today.
We do have to take a nice look at ourselves. We got to examine ourselves sometimes. And sometimes you have to go back to examining yourself. You have to look within and say, ask yourself some questions. Do I have unresolved or personal issues that can harm my current relationship?
So do we? And how do we encourage people when we're dealing with our current relationship? If you don't understand the golden rule, which says, do unto others as I would have them do unto me. And so the first thing we're looking at is, are there any unresolved personal issues that you got to go back to the mirror to examine? And so how do we encourage to talk about that today?
Be truthful to yourself, because there are some things that you've encountered and they shape you, they develop you, they come into you, and sometimes they trap you. And so your spouses or your relationship partner is just being a natural person, but because you were offended previously, you might take offense. And so you got to take a self-examination and say, wait a minute, I need to go back in time. Why am I hurt by this? Why am I bothered by this situation? And realize that the person that you're with currently didn't mean to hurt or harm you, but you've been hurt or harmed before. So you got to look at that.
And so the mirror is a powerful reminder of not somebody else, but it really shows us who we are.
Yes.
And so when you come to the mirror of your relationship, always remember, you and I do need to take time to take a pause and look into the mirror as we continue to develop our relationship. And as I said, whether separated, married, single, divorced, remarried, or in the process of going in a relationship, you gotta make sure that you spend time in the mirror, because just as well as you are getting yourself ready and Mary Kaying yourself up,
there you go.
whatever designer makeup you use, you got to remember that. Welcome, Sheldon. You got to remember that you go to the mirror at times so you really can do some reflection and see what it is you bring to your relationship, or sometimes see what it is that's missing out of your relationship. So I like that. Do I have any personal issues that can harm my current relationship? And that alone, like I said, each thing that we're going to highlight, I think, could be a segment of conversation. Because if I have personal issues that can harm my current relationship, it means I do need to resolve them. As Carla mentioned, I need to take a heads-on approach, and I need to make sure that I'm willing to deal with those things. Because so often, do you know what we do? We point fingers at others like they're the problem. And sometimes when you stand in the mirror, no one's standing there with you. You're all alone, and you got to do some self-reflection.
I like that. Because the mirror is reflective, and you can only see what's in the mirror. And if you're staring at the mirror, I like, Michael Jackson had that whole song. I'm staring at the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to make a change.
That's right.
So the mirror it shows you exactly what's going on. And if you look closely at yourself, you're going to be able to examine yourself, and it's important, because as you move and grow in relationships, you want to make sure that you understand who you are and who you are in God. And our second point is, am I keeping it real with God? Am I keeping it real with God? He already knows you. He just wants you to confess it. Am I keeping it real with myself, my partner, my relationship? So that reflective look at what's going on within you allows you to keep it real with yourself and everyone around you, and it allows you to open the door for God to help you as you seek to make a change. What do you think about that?
I like that, because I'll give you a great example. Carla like pink, I like blue. And so she wants to dress the room pink. I want to dress the room blue. So anything pink, she'll say, hey, babe, do you like this? I'll say, no, I do not like pink. In most cases. I do wear pink, but I don't necessarily choose that as my first color. So I'll put it that way to ease the pain for some. For you pink lovers out there, just remember, you got to be able to be open to the diversity in your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes what'll happen, you'll co-sign everything in that relationship knowing that's really not how you feel. And what it does, I truly believe it can begin to diminish you sharing your reality. So in other words, you need to be able to share your real colors in your relationship. If I could use that for a tagline, so to speak. Be real about your relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
don't just co-sign everything because I like a certain color or she like a certain color. Now, of course, we're using each other for examples, but we're trying to express some encouragement to you, is that you got to be able to express in your relationship the things that you do like and the things that you don't necessarily like.
And know the differences, and that the difference is okay. So by him liking blue and me liking pink, what do? Get blue and accent it with pink. So we both of our colors are there. So it's not a pull. It's not a pull of ways. Knowing that these differences, you have to accept the person, or it might be blue this month, pink the next month, or however we work the blue and the pink out. We try and build to that. See, because and what that means is we're willing to be open to one another. We're willing to accept each other's differences, and we're willing to depend upon God to strengthen that acceptance and each other to support the differences that we have. We have a few things, I like to get busy. I'm noisy in the morning. I want to clean, vacuum, and make all that noise and wake up the whole house in the morning. And he want to do it at night. And so we got to work out the differences.
Yes. And so we got to keep in mind that while there are times you may have to contrast those differences and look at ways where you can complement each other, and ways where you, like I said, got to come back to the mirror to recognize that because she may have a color that I don't necessarily like, that doesn't mean her color is wrong.
Right.
And what can happen in relationships, something so simple, something so small can blow up a matter in your relationship. And all of a sudden now, you're not talking for weeks because of a color. And believe it or not, that happens. And so what we're saying is sometimes, look, you got to go to the mirror to realize can't have it your way today. You got to go to the mirror to realize your color is not winning today. And the other thing, me and my wife, we often laugh because we both are talkers. We both love conversation. We both are very vibrant in the things that we do. But there are also times where we got to take that stance where we don't say anything. Because sometimes not commenting, I'm trying to help you out there, not commenting can be a great solution in a relationship. Sometimes you just have to just say, you know what, I'll just listen and let them get that one. And so those are things where we believe that when you look and understand the golden rule, you do unto others as you have them do unto you. Now, on the other hand, what are some of the damage we can cause when we begin to mock someone's color? And we're just using color now, but we're talking about the dynamics of relationships. Do understand that? What are some of the damage you can cause, or a person can cause in a relationship, when they feel they're standing on the precipice of right?
You are not right in every situation. I am not right in every situation. But you mentioned mocking. You shouldn't mock one another. That's not called for, just because, and we can say colors, we can talk about movies, we can talk about any and everything, even how we praise, how we worship, all of those things. Just because I don't do it like you, or you don't do it like me, you don't get to tease me about it. I don't get to mock you about it.
Right.
That's who you are. And we went back to accepting the person for who they are. But sometimes you can stand your ground. Pink is pink, and I like pink. I don't care what color, what shade of pink it is. And it doesn't mean I'm a girly girl and all these, whatever is associated with liking a color or liking something. It doesn't mean that. It's just simply, I like it. But I'm not always right in throwing a bunch of pink in a room knowing you live here. That's not a right thing to do. You can't dismiss someone's heart and their thoughts and their emotions about a situation. So we're using something as simple as pink. But what happens when they don't like the way you cook the chicken? Or
Right.
what happens when they don't like when you go out at a certain hour? Then what happens when some other bigger issues come along?
Right.
Is that right? Is it wrong? Where's the middle ground in that?
Yeah, so I believe the middle ground is, as you said, making sure you balance your relationship with communication. And we've talked about that on one of the other talks. And so communication is, again, a great power key that's going to either open doors or shut doors. Because as far as you look at a relationship, communication can shut doors as well, which means, and that's not a bad thing. The right communication can shut off harm, as we said, that could be coming or stemming from something previous. And so in relationships, you want to keep in the forefront, I believe, the golden rule, which means you want that person or partner to treat you as you want to be treated. If you don't want somebody yelling at you, don't yell at them.
Don't yell.
If you don't want somebody pointing their finger at you, don't do it. And believe it or not, I believe on many levels and in different stages, we find that we need to really come back to the golden rule. I think you need to do it at home, in your relationship with your children. The golden rule is a rule that will keep a respectful balance, I believe, in almost anything that we do. And so another thing we want to highlight, it was mentioned, am I keeping it real with God, myself, my partner, or my relationship? Every relationship, I do believe, have challenges.
Yes.
And we'll go through phases, please listen carefully, where you will be tempted or tested to lie to your partner. I want you to digest that. Every relationship does have moments, times, phases, areas, situations, circumstances, however you want to tag it, where you will be either tempted or tested to lie to your partner. But if you put the golden rule in front of you, what you will discover, the same way you desire truth in your relationship, and you desire truth to be given to you, you got to make sure you're willing to give it to the person that you're dealing with. One of the things I know I've learned in life is that lies will run you down.
Your mom said, whatever you do, don't lie, because lies will what? Catch you.
Yes.
Your lies will catch you.
Yeah, that's one of my mom's favorite sayings. She'll say,
I remember her saying that.
Lying catches. It's some tag phrase she uses. But in either case, she also says laughing will catch you too. So which means if you laugh at something you see somebody is dealing with or going through, it may catch you because it might happen in your relationship.
It could.
Or it might happen in your life. And I believe sometimes we got to really take a step back when we're really looking at our life or coming to the mirror and just truly looking at, there are so many things that we need to fix about ourselves. Yes.
When you were saying how lies can be tempting, I chuckled because I'm thinking, I'm glad it's a temptation, and we can recognize it as a temptation. It's not that you are going to lie. And sometimes it's just, why do you do it? Is it because you don't want to hear your partner's mouth? You got a surprise that's building up, and you're chuckling about the surprise. That's one kind of way to try and get them away. But there are some situations that call for tough conversation.
Yes.
And tough conversation, when you're not willing to deal with tough conversation, you're tempted to tell your partner, your spouse, your relationship a lie. And you can't. Examine yourself. You wouldn't want to receive a lie, so you don't want to give a lie. You're just going to have to just deal with it, bear with it, and put it all out on the table.
And I know somebody might be saying, right there, nope, not happening. I'm not doing. I was taught and brought up this way to hide things from my spouse, to never tell them what's really going on. One of the, I think, most devastating things you can do to a relationship is to withhold your truth. Because at some point, I've discovered anyway, I know I can speak from my personal life where you deal with Carla, sometimes outside people will want to make sure you know what's happening or what's going on. And when you don't be upfront or be open in your relationship, you're going to find yourself standing at the mirror in a tough place. Because now you mentioned that you don't necessarily think it's a temptation.
No, I said it was a temptation.
Oh, it is a
Yeah,
temptation.
you're tempted to lie because you don't want to fess up. You don't want to own up to what you're being called on the carpet about.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I used two key words there. I said it could be a test or it could be a temptation. Temptations come from the devil. Tests come from God. So you and I need to understand. I use those words strategically because your relationship will be tested. And you have the power, the ability, the openness, the dependability, the respect, the dignity. You have all those things that can stand with you when you pass the test. But if you fall into the temptation and you now succumb to the lie, you find yourself in a space where you will not be trusted.
Yes.
You'll be standing at that mirror going, why me?
And your foundation is rocked.
Yes.
Because it depends on the person that you're telling the lie to, how forgiving, how hurt they are by that. And so you could really, really, really shake the foundation of your relationship.
And you got to remember too, if you're trying to enter into a relationship and you don't trust nobody, how do you expect somebody to trust you? So there are times you need to let that wall down because your previous issues is not your current status.
No.
And so you need to hold on to that. And that's the beauty about moving on. Second thing we want to consider is knowing how to look at yourself. And that is really assessing where you are and who you are. So which means don't rely necessarily on your partner to give you your identity.
Yes.
And I'm sure you want to speak on that.
Well, you have to look at yourself. And I just remember coming to that age and time where I wanted a real close look. I wanted God to really unveil me, because if I was going to be a wife, I needed to understand what that truly meant. And it was no more singleness for me. It was no more, I can do it all. I can live. I can do this. When you're thinking about getting married, you know that two people will be coming together and families will be coming together. So you need an honest assessment for what it is, what strengths you have, the weaknesses you have, the areas you need to be developed in, what can you bring besides money? What else can you bring to the marriage? So, or the relationship. And so, or if you're not in a relationship, you just want to take a self-assessment to see what changes I need to make to be a better person and to help and serve others. So yeah, you do. And sometimes, and it has to be real. You can't be fronting in the mirror.
I like that.
You can't be in the mirror.
Don't front in the mirror.
Don't front in the mirror.
Do unto others
as you would have them.
Do unto yourself.
Absolutely. Don't front.
That's the golden rule.
Yeah.
And so, second thing we want to just, again, briefly hit on, we do want you to know that we are not professional counselors. No. We are Christian leaders and believers. But most importantly, we are people of God who believe in the power of self-care. And a part of self-care today is doing unto others as you would have others do unto you. Also, Matthew 7:1 says, judge not, lest you be judged. Now, there are many spiritual ways that I can really attack that, but we'll have to do that for you on Sundays. So we're going to look at this in the sense, as I said, dealing with self-care. And the second thing what we want to highlight today is confidentiality, Carla, in relationships. Now, that almost goes with communication, being truthful. And as Carla was just mentioning, the old song Michael Jackson talked about, deal with the man or woman in the mirror. We are some busy people. Now, I'm generalizing. And we like to point at everyone else. But how often do you truly pause to look at yourself? How often do you truly pause to self-examine? How often do you truly pause to, according to letter D, listen to this. How often do you
apply what you tell others?
How often?
How often? We're full of advice. We're full of conversation.
Yes. We're
full of things that can express that we can express to others, but are we taking the same advice? If we're talking about health and wholeness and self-care, are we self-caring? Are you self-caring? When you look in the mirror, do you like what you see? Are there areas that you could be better at? You're telling your children, do this, do that, do this, but are you doing the same? Are you picking up that unhealthy snack? I know I'm an unhealthy snack eater. I'm not a baker, and we didn't really get a chance to bake I made, my daughter made the yams, but I was calling around for some pies.
we didn't have no sweets yesterday.
Yeah, no sweets. I was like, where the pies? Oh my God, we forgot to get the pies.
The sweet patrol was here.
The sweet patrol. But
sugar numbers were high. We couldn't have
we
sweets.
couldn't even supposed to eat the pie. So am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And looking at myself in the mirror, I gotta apply what I tell others. If I tell you this is good for you or get out of that situation, I have to make sure that I'm not in the same situation. What about you?
Again, when we're dealing with applying what we tell others, I think, again, talking from a personal aspect, I'm one of those people who's big on evidence, which means that you can do all the talking in the world, but without evidence, it's just that, talk. And so there are many areas in my life where I have to come to the mirror to say, Kendrick, you got to do better in that area. Mm-hmm. Whether communicating, whether being on time, whether dealing with things with my health. And definitely, as I continue to highlight, and I say openly to those listening, I've had health challenges like never before. I used to previously be an athlete, so I've never had a problem, getting myself together in terms of health or running or I guess what we call being in shape, so to speak. But what I began to discover in the last 3 to 5 years is that muscles don't mean you're healthy. A physique doesn't mean that you're healthy. And God knows when they tried to diagnose me with diabetes, I was just like, Superman don't get diabetes. What doctor, you were wrong. What are you talking about? But guess what the doctor reminded me? You got to look in the mirror.
Yep.
You can give all of these excuses of, you're this age. People at this age of their life generally don't. And so I believe when you're talking about the personal aspect of applying what we tell others, mm-hmm. I believe you got to have evidence. Personal evidence is a part of standing in the mirror, recognizing if you are truly doing what you're giving out to others. Mm-hmm. And so without personal evidence, I think sometimes we do need to just kindly close our mouths and put the work in we need to put in for ourselves. So which means we know that the big thing about New Year's is coming. And so we're dealing with all these things called resolutions and everything. What I tell people is that if you truly want to bring impact to yourself, start a month early. Mm-hmm. Don't wait till New Year's. Because we sometimes wait on trends and fads. But if you're going to walk in the power of the golden rule, you don't have to wait to a specific time frame. You don't have to be pinned down to a fad that's flaming throughout your friends or something like that. But for myself, as I said, to summarize it, evidence is the most powerful thing for myself when I'm looking or applying the golden rule to myself or when I'm standing looking in the mirror. I have to bring evidence of what I'm telling others to do. And that is key, I believe, for anything that I'm involved in or doing. And I'm willing to actually put the work in to do that. So second thing we want to highlight on is confidentiality in relationships. So we'll let you lead the way there.
Confidentiality, it's a blessing. And it's a blessing to be able to have someone that you can share or someone you can confide in. There's a lot of things going on in your life and in your world. There may be some situations that you encounter on a routine basis, and you want to be able to just have an outlet, somewhere that you can release your feelings. I know we can go into our secret closet and we can pray and we can hear from God, but having a nice, firm, solid relationship, and for us it's marriage, for you it's your significant other, but having that relationship or that partner where you can say, listen, this is what I'm going through. This is what has happened to me. And some of them could be great things that are happening and not so great things that are happening. Some of them can be brought to you. Some of those things you could have caused. I just remember we were away a couple weeks ago and just seemed like the rug was going to be pulled from under me with all these challenges, and they were workplace challenges. And it was so good to be able to have someone, Kendrick, to talk about these things and work through how I felt about them, because I was feeling a little annoyed by the fact that I can't believe this is happening. Yeah. But just to be able to talk to him about it, and it helps you. You can't live this life out by yourself.
And I also want to add to that, as she was sharing those challenges, guess what? There are moments where I had to let her know or ask her, what was your part in it?
Absolutely.
So I think sometimes with spouses, we try to cover our spouse sometimes with just, no, you're right, babe. Hey, babe's not always right.
Babe is not always right.
Are you. Yes, we're talking to you. You're not always right. And so I want to keep that in perspective, because I truly believe we can lose perspective of the golden rule. Because if you only co-sign things for your spouse because it's your spouse,
right,
you're wrong. You stand with them, you remain loyal to them, but everything they do is not right.
No.
Everything they say is not right. But guess what? Here's the balance now. The same way I do that to her, do unto others, right? She does the same to me. And she will outright let me know, you're not right in that, Kendrick. You're wrong in that. So the other thing I think we got to make sure we understand is, as you said, you shared those challenges, is to make sure we know how to encourage our spouse in those challenges.
Yes.
And which means that no matter what happened, I made sure she understood I'm there. No matter what takes place, no matter what's being thrown at you, I'm standing with you. But confidentiality, watch this now, may mean, and as in her situation, there were some things I could not release to the world around me.
No.
Which means that when your spouse gives you something or a piece of information that's confidential, you can't run to tell the world.
Could you imagine how that feels? Just think, girl, we got friends. And, oh, don't tell. You know that saying, oh, don't tell nobody, girl, you can trust me. And then what happens? You hear about it later. Oh, my gosh, the bond is broken.
Because people talk.
People talk. And I'll be very honest. If you give your secrets to somebody who is irresponsible and you're hearing secrets about other people's, I'm always wondering, if you telling me about somebody else, how secret is my secret with you? And so you got to be careful about who you share with. And thank goodness in marriage, you get that person you can just unleash and unload and know that it's confidential. It's not going anywhere.
Going back to the golden rule, can you imagine that somebody is sharing secrets with you in your relationship? We're talking. So you're doing unto others that you would have them to do unto you. But all of a sudden, they betray your confidentiality.
Just imagine how that feels.
It happens.
It does.
It happens. And so you got to understand, there could be a deep underscore of disappointment. Now, sometimes spouses do find themselves in that place. And you got to deal with that.
They do. And you do.
And we're not just talking spouses. Relationships. Sometimes best friends.
You have that, sometimes you want that advice. Like, who do you go to when you need help here?
Right.
Who do you talk to? So we have trusted friends that we both go to together. And we can lay it out in front of them together. And they help. No. Yeah. You can't do that. You can do that. They give us the advice. And it hasn't gone anywhere. So you can outlet, but you have to know who you're truly outletting to.
I've heard the slogan over and over again where people say, we talk about enemies and people who we think are enemies, etc., right? I want to share something with you that you may have never heard before. Sometimes your best friend can be your worst enemy. Let me share something real deep and yet simple with you, audience. The person you give your secrets to, that person can ruin you if you cross them the wrong way.
Yeah.
So we oftentimes think it's someone on the outside. That's why when you look at yourself in the mirror, you got to be willing to know what you are extending to someone, what you are sharing with someone, and what you're telling someone, especially confidential information. You can't put that in the hands of everyone.
You can't.
Because even the person that you think is a trusted friend, confidant, sometimes spouse, if you guys don't respect your relationship and you run to tell everything, you breach the confidentiality between your marriage or your relationship. And secondly, you run the risk of breaching the confidentiality in your marriage, which can bring ultimate disrespect to you. Because the person you're sharing with that you think would never say nothing, sometimes they can't hold it. Sometimes they wait for the right moment to try to throw it out there to let people know. Do you know they got this going on? Do you know things? What's the old saying about trouble in paradise?
They know all that. Yes, I heard.
Yeah, stop hearing and get back to the mirror.
The mirror.
So that means looking at you, assessing yourself. So the other thing is that you need a place to outlet your real feelings. And Carla just mentioned that. Whether it's your spouse, whether it's your best friend, and again now, don't get me wrong. The same way I can talk about the negatives of that and the perils of dealing with someone going over confidentiality or not respecting confidentiality in a relationship, there are trusted people. And I believe I have a true confidant here. She believes she have a confidant. But if you have breached confidentiality in your relationship, you got to get back to the mirror and resolve some things, which means stop telling everything that somebody tells you, because just as sure as we're trying to encourage you, it may backfire you. Yeah. Because do you not know, beloved? I've had people to come back to try to tell me quickly, in confidence I have expressed things to. Same with her. And we both just look at each other like, what? Can you believe? So be careful with that, because you could end up being scarred and hurt in the process.
Right. And sometimes when you're sharing someone else's information, it all comes back to the original source. And just because you shared it, my stuff, and that person told me you share it, and I don't address you, doesn't mean that I don't know what you did.
Ooh, that's a great point, because I had a pastor to tell me this too. Sometimes people bring stuff back to you, not so much to address people or to let them know that you know, but they bring it, or God, I believe, brings you that information so you can know who you're dealing with.
Exactly. And so some things do get back.
Yes.
It doesn't mean I get to say that. I choose not to say anything about it. I just choose to be like, okay, now I know.
And that's no slam, that's no throw off, because guess what? We're dealing with this in relationships.
Yep.
So the same thing, we're really talking about even ourselves. We got to be careful and protect the confidentiality that we express in each other.
Yes.
If she tells me, Kendrick, don't say nothing about this, I got to hold that confidentiality. If I say, Carla, please don't share this, she got to hold that confidentiality. So sometimes why we say do unto others as you have other do unto yourself is because you are being tested with the information. You are a trusted confidant that is being tested. And you got to understand and know, true relationships always go through tests. But we got to make sure temptation don't sweep them away. So we got to also remember that everyone don't need access to everything. Which means, and I guess this is really a conversation to talk about too, when we consider, even with sometimes holidays, we're dealing with holidays right now. And sometimes I remember an issue where my wife was sharing with me, we're talking about dealing with family and people and friends and everything. And so again, the statement is everyone don't need access to everything. Now, I'm just a open person, and I love the world. My wife is a private woman. So which means now, like I said, you got to find the balance in that. So if I'm standing in the mirror doing to others, I now got to carve and cut a lot of the ways and things that I do, not so much to make her happy, but to bring a balance to our relationship, and vice versa. Because while she might be private, if it was up to me, the world would live with us every day.
Yeah.
But I'm understanding that everyone don't need access to everything. And it doesn't mean something bad or something wrong, because sometimes we put the negative spin on everything. It just means sometimes you don't have access to go down into the municipality and go behind the chambers to see what the judge is talking about. You don't have that access. You don't have that authority. Same thing happens in relationship. And what happens when certain people believe or think they need access to a person's relationship, personal life, or in their spouse's life, whether that be family, friends, or we talked about foes as well. What happens, and what are some of the detriments to that?
Well, it's unrealistic. You have your own personal life to be in charge of. And so
say it again.
You have your own.
Say that slowly and again. Say that slowly and again. Please listen carefully. We're encouraging you here today. Self-Care Saturday.
You have your own personal life to be in charge of. Your own personal life to manage. And focus on that. If someone really want your opinion about a matter, they will ask you for it. What you think and how you think, great. It's good. You want to hear how people feel. But there's timing for that. And there's a moment in time when someone is going through, and they might not need your opinion right now. They might just need you to hear them through it. But you gotta focus on self-care. This is self-care. What makes you think you have the right into someone's personal life? You don't have access. You don't have that right. My sisters, my cousins, my mom, my aunties, my husband, my family, there's boundaries. I am not in their personal life.
And remember last week we even talked about that cell phone. Do you have the right to go in your spouse or lover cell phone? Do you have that right? And so I think boundary is a great word. And when we talk about establishing boundaries, we also need to focus on patterns that attack us, and that leaves us in the mirror vulnerable. Do unto others. If patterns are attacking your relationship, remember now, don't you go and attack somebody's relationship and don't want nobody to say nothing about yours. That's what we're dealing with today. Because sometimes we cry to God, we cry to people, and we try to make it seem like everyone else is wrong, when in actuality, I need to go to the mirror. I have planted seeds, I have done things, I have said things that could be coming back on me now as a harvest. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And so we got to be ready to accept what we give out. Because just as sure as you plant, you're going to reap. Just as sure as you sow, a harvest is going to come up. So remember, if you want positive things happening to happen to you, you got to make sure you establish some healthy boundaries. Because everyone does not have access. And everyone should not have access to every single thing that you do. Now, for some people, it works. But we're trying to encourage you today, do unto others as you would have others to do unto you. And so our last thing that we're dealing with is dealing with establishing healthy boundaries. And one of the things we got highlighted here is focus on patterns that bring down your relationship and do what you can to correct it. Patterns that bring down your relationship. So what are some things that can bring down our relationship?
Know the triggers. Know the triggers.
We're not talking about a gun trigger either.
Know what you already know. I don't know if it was something I was reading, but you already know if you're married and you're married for a specific amount of time, you already know your spouse's pattern. Come in the house, take a moment for themselves, eat some food, whatever the patterns are. So when you know what the patterns are in the marriage, then don't interrupt the pattern, and expect the person to be so available to you. When you come home or when I come home, we know what we like. We know what we need. Your home is your safe haven. It
should be.
Well, yeah, it should be. You take all the stresses of work, all the stresses of ministry, all the stresses of the life. You coming home now, and you got to process all of that. So whatever the person needs, let them stay in their pattern. Don't try and infiltrate. Don't try and break the pattern, because that's going to cause stress for them, and then it's going to be causing stress for you as well.
Those are called triggers, according to Carla.
The triggers.
And so always know too, don't always think that others will change because you're changing. And I think that's key. I get in the mirror and now all of a sudden, God is working on me. Things are changing. I want to do things differently. I got a new path I'm chartering. I am trailblazing to the top. And my spouse looks at me and goes, I'm not doing that. Don't always expect that person to change because you're changing. And if we can share anything with you, we were just giving this conversation to our daughter as well. You can't change anyone. Only God can change people. You can't change anyone. And one of the great mistakes of any relationship is trying to change someone while you're changing. No, you be the change. My wife, I don't know where you get the quote from, but she said, be the change that you desire to see. And so accept your role and accept the changes that is happening in your life. Now, if the person is not being adaptable to the change that you're bringing, always remember, you keep giving to them what you desire, and somewhere along the line, you will reap the benefits of that back in your life. And unfortunately, it may not come back through them. Now, and I'm not talking about anything to break down your relationship like cheating or anything like that, but I'm just saying the good portions of our relationship that we should hold on to, or looking in the mirror and realizing we do unto others as we would have them do unto us. You got to keep in mind, the golden rule is also a lifelong rule. And so, last but not least, we'll let you highlight this last piece here.
we discussing recognizing handbags versus suitcases, and that is, in other words, handbags are things we carry around every day. Lugging issues are things that we carry more weight. Don't do it. So we carry around that weight all the time, and it could be long-term issues.
And so one thing I highlighted here, just want to make one correction here: handbags versus luggage, not lugging. So I want you all to be careful with that, because you lug the luggage.
Mm-hmm.
So handbags are small, but luggage issues are much larger than handbag issues. And so if you had to highlight or encourage somebody about a handbag issue, something we carry around every day, what would be one of those issues?
Things we carry around, things that we have been encountered in relationships, things that hurt us.
Things that hurt us.
We carry that around every day.
And now I believe that could be a two-way issue.
Yeah.
So which means, as she highlight that, for some of us, it could just seem like a handbag matter. Look, you carry that little hurt every single day.
Every time.
But then when it's time to sit down as a family, as a spouse, as a couple, to your confidant and really express to them what is the real issue, you might discover that person has a suitcase.
Luggage.
They got luggage. Now, some people say baggage, but I'm just trying to show you the difference of the weight that each one carry. What can fit in a suitcase can't necessarily fit in a handbag.
So eventually, I like that, because so that means eventually you got to unpack the luggage and unpack the handbag so that good things can be, things that are not so weighty can be carried around.
And so we got to keep in mind, never try to recover alone. Now, when we're talking about do unto others as you would have others do unto you, remember, the golden rule means you don't try to bring everybody else or your spouse issues to the mirror and start pointing out, this is what's wrong with her, this is what's wrong. Some of us, in our own way and in our own right, some of us have fears that we just haven't expressed to our spouse or loved one. Some of us have terrors. Some of us have animosity. Some of us have anger. Hey, look, we got issues. Every relationship, I don't care how smiling it is, how great it is. We have a great relationship.
Yes,
but there are handbag issues and there are some luggage we both have to unpack and deal with. And I do want to say this for the record. Anyone that tries to make you think that their marriage or their relationship don't carry some degree of things that they have to work through. Now, you can label them any way you want to, or we don't have no issues. Okay, you can use all that positive affirmation. That's good and well. But at the end of the day, are you really being truthful with God and yourself? And we did highlight that. Be truthful. If you don't like something about your spouse, tell them.
Yes.
And stop saying, babe, we okay. No, we're not okay.
We're not okay.
If your spouse don't agree with you, can she truly tell you without you going off? Without you walking around the house, mouth long as Texas? I mean, we got to be straight up. We you know, I hear young people, and some older people always use the term, keep it real.
All right.
Let's do that.
You have to keep it real.
So when you stand in the mirror, and when you look at yourself, and when the great assessment of you, not your spouse, Carla got to look in her mirror, Kendrick got to look in his mirror, what are you seeing? And if you see a reflection or a harvest around your life and your relationship of ugly, of put downs and let downs, it could be that's what you have been given. It could be that's what you have been giving. However, because the Bible says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If you want a world of kindness, of love, respect, and of dignity, you got to give it. Closing words.
I believe that is so true. what you give will be multiplied back into your own life. And so it is. And so give that love, give that honor, give respect, give equality.
Yes.
Give balance. And as hard as it may be for you, because you have those scars, take the scars and put on that ointment, put on that cream, start to erase the scars out of your life. Put the word of God in there. Get those positive affirmations going so that the scars go away and the newness of who you are comes back. As hard as it can be done. And so I would say, look in that mirror, take a deep, long look. I remember when I looked in my mirror and I liked what I saw, but I saw some areas that truly, truly, truly needed to be improved upon. And they have only been working for me, not against me.
All right. And so, brief summary. Number one, every relationship needs a moment in the mirror. Every person, if you're going to do unto others what you want done to you, you got to stand in the mirror and do some self-examination. Secondly,
there should be confidentiality in the relationship. If you need a spouse that can trust you and one you can trust.
Third of all, establish healthy boundaries and focus on patterns, as we say, that bring things down in your life and start the corrective measures, as Lady Carla mentioned. And last but not least,
never try to do it or recover alone. There are people who can support you. There's a whole, God is there to open up the doors for you to listen to your heart. And if you want that love, honor, respect, dignity, and equality, look in the mirror.
Amen. Remember, Philippians 1:6 declares, he who began a good work in you, not only will he perform it, he'll bring it to pass until the day of Jesus Christ. So we thank each and every one of you for tuning in to Self-Care Saturday. Take care of yourself. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The golden rule is what we've been talking about in this segment. Again, happy Thanksgiving to you all. We are looking forward to you worshiping with us on tomorrow, 12:30 virtually. We'll be bringing forth the word of God. And the topic we'll be dealing with is dealing with worship. So we're going to be celebrating the Lord tomorrow, talking about the topic of worship, which will be a series bringing you into the reality of what worship is, who we worship, why we worship. So those are some things that we want you to highlight, like, tag, and share this information. And remember, beloved, we love you. God bless you. And we'll see you on tomorrow morning. God bless.
God bless.